we're going to continue this fight to lower the high cost of living in a country where America is far too expensive, far too many people struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, can't thrive, and can barely survive. That's what this fight has been all about. And we'll continue to work hard to lower the high cost of living.
All right, that was House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I'm joined now by Kevin Hassett, the director of the White House National Economic Council. Thank you very much for joining us. So the president just cut tariffs on a whole range of goods, including coffee, bananas, beef, tomatoes, that had become quite expensive. How soon can we expect prices on those goods to go down?
Right. Well, first of all, if you look at the history of inflation, right, what happened was that there was runaway Democrat spending in Joe Biden's term, and we got inflation up almost to 10%. It averaged 5% over the 4 years. And that has created a situation where, for example, mortgage rates went up. And so the typical payment for a monthly mortgage payment almost doubled. That a bag of groceries that cost $400 a month when President Trump left office is $500 or $515 when President Trump came back this time. And so that there's this really big hole that's been dug. And then the question you could also ask as an economist is, how do I summarize all those different prices and everything? And one of the ways you could do it is just look at purchasing power, the real wage. But purchasing power, I'll just finish this and then I'll get back to it. The purchasing power dropped by about $3,000 under Joe Biden because the wages didn't keep up with prices. Under President Trump, it's already gone up by about $1,200. We understand that people still feel the pain of the high prices, but we're closing the gap and filling the gap fast.
I don't want to get into numbers, but both those numbers are disputed by many economists.
No.
But both of them are. But let me ask you the question I asked again. So the tariffs have been removed from these items that many of us buy at the grocery store. How soon do we expect the prices on those goods now to go down?
Right. Well, the prices for those goods weren't necessarily going up just because of tariffs, and so the prices will go down. Well, the prices will go down, of course, but
because the tariffs have been taken off.
Right. Well, and because the supply of the goods into the U.S. is going to increase.
But to state the obvious, tariffs do raise prices on Americans, despite what the president has said over and over again.
It depends on, so if you look at it, how much has inflation gone up because of tariffs? Everybody was saying we're going to have stagflation because of the tariffs, but in fact, year over year, inflation is down. The latest inflation report shows that it's 2.5%. And that's very close to the Fed's target, and that happened with tariffs coming. The reason that happens is that for most products, if you think about the stuff we get from China, China sells the products into the U.S. almost as much as they can to create jobs in China. And that means that they have to lower their costs when we put a tariff on, and that's why inflation didn't happen. And GDP growth is about 4% with the tariffs, so we didn't get stagflation because the inelastic suppliers have been lowering their prices. But there's some things that aren't inelastically supplied, like coffee.
The president often says that prices have come down. Obviously, they haven't. We don't have deflation. There are some goods, like gasoline. Yeah, but let's take a look at some of the goods that we buy, regularly in our household. Let's take a look at this. Coffee, as you mentioned, up 15%. Uncooked ground beef up 14%. Bananas up 8%. Fresh cakes and cupcakes up 6%. Lettuce up almost 6%. Lunch meat, salad dressings, tomatoes all up, well more than that 2.5%. Americans are clearly feeling that prices are continuing to go up, and with many of the goods that they buy regularly, they are going up.
Well,
and again, more. By significant numbers.
Let's look at it. First of all, when we came in, the very first thing that all of you folks were talking to us about was egg prices.
Yeah.
And egg prices are down year over year. You could have put that in your chart right there. But the fact is, when we had almost 10% inflation in the year with Biden,
that wasn't about economic factors. That was bird flu with the egg prices, just to be clear.
But the meat prices problem is we've shut the border from Mexico because of an infestation in Mexico. So there are a bunch of things like that are targeted problems. And also, so you have lunch meats and meats, but the meats are coming slower from Mexico because there's a pest infestation there. But the bottom line is, if you want to control inflation, you got to not spend like a drunken sailor. If you want the macroeconomics of it, we're reducing the deficit this year. So far this year, in the calendar year, it's dropped by almost $400 billion. and that $400 billion is probably going to be about $600 billion reduction in deficit this year. That's the kind of stuff that takes the pressure off of the price of everything.
It's still a mighty large deficit. So the president claims that Thanksgiving costs are down 25%. I mean, does he know that's not true?
Well, if you look at Walmart and the few places that put out their prices of Thanksgiving baskets.
Wait a minute. I got to stop because the Walmart comparison's like not a thing. I mean, Walmart had a Thanksgiving package last year. They've got a Thanksgiving package this year. The one this year contains much less than what the one last year took. So that's why the price is less. Look, we got a chart here. Last year, it was 21 total products. This year, it's 15. Total number of items in those products was 29% now. 29 now it's 22. There's more generic brand stuff. So I mean, Thanksgiving. If you're going to the store to buy groceries for Thanksgiving, it's going to be more expensive this year.
I really don't understand where you're going in the sense that Joe Biden gave us 20%
He's not
inflation.
president. Donald Trump's president.
No, and you want us to fix the hole that Joe Biden
No, I'm
dug
saying,
right away.
why does the president tell everybody
the prices went up so much under Joe Biden, and inflation is way down. Inflation is about half what it was in December. This is something that's being fixed fast, and real incomes are up after dropping about $3,000 under Joe Biden. And so, sure, you can find a few things where the price is higher, but there's a whole bunch of stuff where the price is lower, like gasoline, like mortgage rates.
When are we going to get the Republican plan to
You understand that mortgage rates have gone way down, and it's much cheaper to buy a home now than it was when President Trump took office.
Down, right?
Yeah.
So when are we going to hear from the White House the plan for health insurance premiums? And we have 20-some million Americans are going to have not just rising health insurance premiums, but skyrocketing. When do we get the Republican plan?
So it seems I'm kind of confused because Obamacare is 100% a Democratic policy. The current path of Obamacare is 100% something that was created by Democrats. They added a big expansion, and then they knew they couldn't pay for the whole thing in a long time. And while they did that, let me just finish that. Yeah. While they put all of those subsidies into Obamacare, Obamacare became not affordable. It wasn't Affordable Care Act. In fact, the cost of these Obamacare premiums has gone up twice as fast as for the private market.
I mean, really out of time. Is there going to be a Republican plan to address that, or is it just
of course, the president has already talked about blame Democrats. The Democrats are at fault for this, and in fact, we even had a solution for this in the Big Beautiful Bill, and they took the Byrd Rule to take $30 billion away from people, so they couldn't have the health insurance that they needed.
All right, Kevin Hassett, thank you for joining us this morning.
It's good to be here.